Morning, everybody. It's 24th of May. We're Signal Centre Talking Ball. I'm Joe Neighbour, joined by Steve O'Hare. Morning, Steve.
Morning, mate. All right.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Glad to be back in one
Yeah, I
piece.
bet you are in one piece,
Lucky to be back.
fresh from the climb.
Yeah, it was interesting. How's it been? All good? Bit of
Um,
volatility in the markets the last couple of days?
yeah, very much so. Enough to make me do a little bit of a talking ball spat at 5 o'clock on Friday night. I don't know if you saw it.
No.
Um, oh, right. I stuck it on LinkedIn. Um, yeah, it was just a little bit concerning. The price action going into Friday night's close. Just sort of backs up the sort of theory behind the cryptocurrencies have got some issues in front of them, which we'll sort of like go into a little bit more depth. I'm sort of like reading up about Tether and the sort of things that behind that. There's a lot of conspiracy behind that it's not really got the reserves that it should have.
Right. So
So
that's what everything's pegged towards, right? That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
US dollar proxy, basically.
Exactly. What one tether should equal $1. So, when tether first was invented back in 2014, I think there was the premise or the sort of like the statement on the website read that one USDT is backed by $1. And that was it. And for a few years, that was the case. And 2018, they changed the website. They had a bit of a rebrand, and the sort of the information coming out, or the what they say about it being backed by $1 is no longer the case. It's got loans backing it and
Oh, bloody
other
hell.
commercial paper, and yeah, and it stinks a bit. So
Hmm.
I'm watching a few videos on it now, trying to get both sides of the story. Really, it doesn't look very good, and I don't think that will help what cryptos is going through at the moment. Bitcoin
No, that
for
would be
me
a big crisis of confidence, wouldn't it?
huge. I mean, you're talking about Tether's used in transactions worth 98 billion per day. I'm sure all the crypto guys out there are saying this is FUD, which stands for fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which is promoted when people talk about against the crypto cult.
Yeah.
So, but we'll dive a little bit more into that this week when I get a little bit more information. But it just doesn't feel like Tether has the reserves that it's supposed to have. It's almost potentially only got a third of the reserves. That's what I've read. I can't sort of like say that's definite, so I've got to read more.
Hmm.
But yeah, very concerning indeed.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in terms of other news, China's intensified its campaign to call the raw materials boom. They've pledged severe punishment for violations ranging from excessive speculation to spreading fake news. So they are very much going after the commodities, and you would think that's going to have quite an impact on markets, given how well these commodities have done. Things like iron ore, steel, etc., both dropping by over 5%, tumbling by the daily limit in some instances. So
Wow.
we'll come on to that shortly, I'm sure, on the charts. As you mentioned, Bitcoin has had some massive volatility swings. It's got its own VIX indicator, which currently sits above 130, and that's higher than the stock market version has ever got in over 30 years. So, pretty severe, although we have seen some tweets of support from Elon Musk over the weekend. The guy single-handedly basically manipulating the market, it seems, at the moment, but won't get into
So
that.
he's given supportive tweets, and the market is still on its backside. So
Yeah, I mean,
that's
there was an 18% drop, wasn't there, over
yeah,
yesterday? But then he's obviously stepped in to cool that a little bit by the looks of things.
yeah. It seems to have sort of been bouncing over the last sort of like 8 to 12 hours. So yeah, it's a little bit of a recovery in place, but I think I'm pretty sure it's short-lived. I think we're going to see a break of the 30,000 level very soon. And then the real test for me is the 20,000 level, which was the previous swing high before we had the big sell-off.
Okay.
Um,
Well, let's get
you
stuck
know,
into a chart in a second.
yeah,
Just one more thing with regards to restrictions regarding coronavirus. Germany announced fresh restrictions on UK travellers due to the spread of the India variant. So travellers in the UK from the UK, will now have to spend 2 weeks in quarantine, even if they test negative.
yeah, I saw that.
So we hope that isn't going to be the case across other European countries, because if there was any faint hopes of European holidays going ahead, that's now going to be totally squashed. If people start worrying about how much of the Indian variant we are spreading around in the UK.
Yeah.
Despite us having one of the most successful vaccine campaigns around Europe, and yeah, not great, is it? But I guess it's probably a little bit premature to think we were over the worst of it.
Yeah, I think we sort of like we did really well one day with Matt Hancock saying one day it was 50 million vaccines had been administered, and the very next day it was 60 million. So thanks, Matt, for them
10 million a
great.
day.
Yeah, he basically upped the number by 10 million in a day. So don't know really how he did that, but he's it's a bit sort of like frightening how he keeps coming up with these numbers and getting them wrong.
Yeah.
So just another sort of like another thing we have to worry about.
Yeah, well, let's stop talking about him and get stuck into some charts, shall we? Come on, Steve. Everyone's gagging to hear about Bitcoin, so let's get on with it, shall we?
Yeah,
Are you
let's
going to
go.
start with gold, are you?
No, I'll go Bitcoin. Why
Go on
not?
then.
Okay, so this was what I really was concerned about. You can't really see it on a weekly chart. Friday night, looked at it, and the price action had recovered quite nicely, and was up around about, well, it was above 40. I was looking at Bitcoin when I got on the bike at 4 o'clock. When I got off the bike at 5 o'clock, it was like 4 or 5,000 lower. So that was a concern for me going into a Friday night. Weekends, obviously, the markets are a little bit less liquid. But yeah, it was a real concern. So head and shoulders formation, are we going to get this? I mean, I was sort of like predicting maybe we'd get the sort of the right shoulder maybe coming in at let's get, I mean, even if we got it up at 43,000, that would have been nice. It would have been equivalent to the left shoulder. So we sort of like looked at the charts, and it was pretty much that's where it got to. It's we see the market made the low here at 30,000, spiked all the way up to 43,000. So a nice level to have the right shoulder. Plus, it was a previous swing low. So that was a horizontal support, now obviously turned into resistance. Let's make it red so we remember. And that's pretty much the right shoulder. Now, normally a right shoulder would sort of like form, after a few weeks on a daily chart. After a couple of weeks, we'd get the sort of reaction higher, right shoulder, rejection, and then the break of the neckline. So obviously this isn't a head and shoulders formation yet. It has to break the neckline. However, if this does play out, here's the measured move target. Minus 3,000? How does that work? So we always thought that oil couldn't go to negative prices, but it did. So I don't know. Don't want to panic anyone just yet, but I am saying, please, please, please don't get sucked into this as an investment. And it is a bit of a bet. I think all the cryptos feel like a big bet at the moment. They are, the cryptocurrency is with us forever, and it will eventually be the sort of fiat currency that we all go to in whatever shape or form. I don't know, but don't get sucked into this. This is like when you're getting into a taxi and the Uber driver is saying to you, oh, which crypto should I buy? Then you have an issue. It goes back to the days of the dot-com bubble, when the same thing would happen. You'd get into a cab and the taxi driver would be talking about which .com he's bought or which one he should be buying. So yeah, I do seem like a bit of a FUD, spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt. All I'm doing is looking at really the technical picture, and I'm looking a little bit more into the fundamentals of Tether, which for me is a bit of a concern now. Where is Tether here? So Tether, okay, so this should be 1-to-1 with the dollar. If it's 1-to-1 with the dollar, why are we getting these spikes? I mean, it's not bad pricing. Some of these spikes are real. You're getting the move over either side. Obviously, this is like when it's first established, 2017-18. This is when there's issues about, is it really backed by $1 and it's been accepted that it's not. Went down here to 85. Bit of a concern. So I'd imagine a lot of traders are trading this very much, and it reminds me of the Swiss National Bank peg. It's pegged at $1. It's never going to move from there, and then all of a sudden you get this sort of like realization that it's not, and then where's it going to go from here? So the jury's out in there. I'll look at it a bit more, but this shouldn't be moving about. This should be just like slightly either side of $1, but it's not. It's having sort of like swings either side. A bit frightening. All the other cryptocurrencies took a massive hit as well. Obviously, Bitcoin sold off. They're recovering this morning with Bitcoin. So really, where's the levels to watch this morning? For me, 39,000 is the resistance level we'll see this morning. Above that, again, 43,000 really. But 30,000 in my eyes. We've had the move here on the 19th, and obviously over the weekend we got down to just above 30,000. So it did have that sort of move. It was looking like having high volume, and it's having the bounce now. If we don't manage to break above 39,000, I think we're in trouble. We should see the break below in the next 48 hours. So scary things. Let's look at something a little bit more stable. Gold. That's sort of a real asset compared to a crypto, which is just floating about there.
Today.
Yeah, I don't care really.
The thing is, they'll be even angrier now because they're losing money as well. So,
of course, yeah, and that's the thing. It's sort of like, but it'll be, oh, we're losing money. Doesn't matter. It'll bounce, because that's what everyone is saying. All these young traders have never seen the markets that we've seen. Oh, it'll always bounce. Don't worry. It'll always bounce. It always bounces.
Always bounces.
Yeah, and then one day it won't. Take that to the bank. So yeah. Anyway, gold is. I'll get onto the. Actually, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll leave gold for a minute. I'll go indices, because for me, this could be the sort of one of the catalysts. The indices. If indices sell off, I think you'll get the same sort of thing happening in cryptocurrencies, that they'll go together. It's not a sort of like safe haven. Indices is being driven at the moment by the sort of like there's a fear out there of the inflation picture. Powell raising interest rates. It's a potential. It feels like it's going to happen.
Commodities as well.
Yeah, and the commodities China, as well.
You're basically manipulating the markets to stop the price rises, right?
Exactly, and all these things will move together. Whereas you sort of like think,
they're risk assets.
Yeah, gold will be a safe haven, and it's sort of initially it may not be, because if you do get the stocks indices selling off, then we'll also see gold getting sold off, because that'll be the asset that they'll be liquidating to fund their sort of like positions in the indices, like we saw back when the start of the pandemic. But all I'm seeing is hanging men, not hanging man, hanging men. A couple on over the last couple of weeks on the indices, on the weekly chart, at sort of decent resistance levels. 78.6 retracement here on FTSE, and this is an expanding wedge in DAX. So like we're close to all-time highs, and we're getting to levels here where I sold DAX last time, and I want to do it again. So let's get rid of that for keep popping up. So yeah, I'm looking at maybe waiting for a little bit of a turnaround on the short-term chart, but looking to maybe sell DAX again around these levels. You can have quite a tight stop. The last time I did that, this is what I went for last time. I went for a 7-to-1 risk reward. Didn't get far away, actually. Made it down to these levels, didn't quite get down to that low, and it's back up there. So I'll be looking to do a similar sort of thing today. That'll be my come to head. But again, go back to the weekly chart on the indices, hanging men candles. hanging men, and S&P's hanging men candles. So it doesn't look very good. Even the China, which is the one I believe could be the catalyst to drag us lower, posted a shooting star after retesting the resistance, and it's rejected it. I mean, they're off to a sort of like decent start this morning. So we should know very quickly whether this technical setup is worth anything. So moving on to commodities. Gold for me, top of the channel. This is, the one I think it's got potential for the upside, but I don't know if it's going to happen yet. 1900 is the resistance level that I'm looking for. Above that, we've got 1960. So, however, the price action, again, on the daily chart, we can see that we're at the level where we've rejected before, but we seem to have pushed through it. So once we get above 1890, which is the resistance, will it open up that move to 1960? As I say, I think with the indices under pressure and potentially the cryptos under pressure, I think gold won't be an easy ride. It'll be seeing these dips with everything else, and maybe, but it'll bite back a little bit harder, I think. So potentially sell off and looking to buy dips in gold. Oil, again, we're talking about the commodity sector being under pressure. It's up here. The resistance levels are quite close above, a couple of dollars higher. So yeah, I'm still a little bit pessimistic on oil. There is support down at $60, and below that the $57 before we see the vacuum move to $54. So that's about it. I think I've wasted enough time.
Great.
Hopefully this
seems to be kicking off.
Yeah.
Things are going to happen.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Okay, well, let's have a quick gloss over the FX markets, because I don't think they're anywhere near as exciting as what's going on with cryptocurrencies and potentially indices. So first up, this is dollar index. It's still stuck within this channel, as you can see here. The ranges have increased in size in the last few sessions. Certainly this support down here at 89.70-ish appears to be doing a pretty good job. We continue to close above it, and while that's the case, you could argue that it's from a speculative perspective okay to maybe buy at those levels with a fairly tight stop loss. But these ranges have been pretty massive. I mean, what that one on the 19th pretty much engulfed all of the previous session, but then the session after it pretty much engulfed all of that. So no real direction in that, just a lot of choppy price action and really difficult to play. So obviously this is sort of key to everything really in FX markets, and while that continues to hold support, there is a potential for a bounce to the upside. If we break the channel, then we'd be looking for a corrective move up here. If the channel is to break, then you're probably going to have to see a collapse in other risk assets like cryptocurrencies, or even more so in cryptocurrencies. Probably indices, though, I would say they're maybe more closely tied, and they haven't seen any real panic moves in those just yet, but the signs are a little bit scary. So on to euro dollar. It's the flip side of the dollar index. It's trading within this bullish channel. Again, bigger ranges, lots of chop going on, no real direction. Resistance has formed at 122.43. So unless we can break above that level, then we are coming to a crunch point whereby we are going to break above this resistance, or we're going to break the lower end of the channel, and that would dictate where the moves are. Obviously, there's a lot of fresh air down here, so if it breaks, it could happen quite fast. If it breaks to the upside here, then we could see a grind up to this kind of level up here, which is at 123.46. Cable looked quite interesting because it has rallied into this resistance level here at 142.40. A little bit of a stalling there. We had a little bit of a look up at these levels, but couldn't hold on to them, and the selling did pick up. So quite an interesting level there. It's obviously had a very nice run from these lows, which has been helped by dollar weakness. Above that, there is a level up here at 43.76, which we have to go back to April 2018 to find that level. So quite a long held resistance level there, and it's would be the next point of interest above this 142.41 level. Elsewhere, I haven't really had a chance to do much digging around. This still is trading in a big old downtrend wedge potentially. No real signs of any sort of bottoming happening just yet, but from a speculative point of view, you could easily see a bounce up here at some point, but we'll have to wait and see. That's not the case yet. Dollar yen has been my preferred dollar play if you were looking to buy US dollars. It's on trend support at the moment, so we need to see some buyers come in here and push this higher. Then we've got resistance at 109.70, and above that, we'll be targeting a move up to 110.96. Pretty much it from the currency side of things. As I say, nowhere near as interesting, I think, as the other stories that are developing in the markets at the moment on cryptos, commodities, and indices. Okay, so Steve, obviously last week you had a couple of attempts at gun to the head without me, so I have reconciled the spreadsheet today.
Nice one.
So on, or maybe I haven't done it
Thursday.
quite. Yeah, so on Wednesday I had a stop out on Euro Swiss, but you had a stop out on gold,
Hmm.
and then you had a 3.2R win on oil. Was that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, about that. Yeah,
You were going for a
61.90.
much bigger target, weren't you? So
Yeah, yeah, I was going for a big one, but
that would have been lovely. But yeah, fantastic, great hit. And then you back that up with another win on gold of 1.55R. So
yeah, lovely.
maybe I should take more time off. Don't know. What do you
Yeah,
reckon?
maybe.
Yeah.
No, don't do it. So I'm back. I'm 20.68. What is that? Is that the all-time yearly high?
For you,
Yeah.
no, you were
No, no,
higher
mine.
there.
Okay, cool.
Not much higher, 2094. So
Yeah,
you're
nice.
close. This has been your big resistance level for a while. So hopefully
Yeah.
you can break through that. Okay, cool. So let's crack on then. So gun to the head. You've got to make a call, Steve. What are you
Yeah.
fancying?
Yeah, I'm going to go for DAX. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to put my trust in the resistance here. Getting short, just 15.19, 15,519. The stop can be 15,569, 69, 500. And let's have the target of, let's go for it, shall we? 10 to 1. Why not?
Yeah.
10 to 1 risk reward.
Oh, that's bang on the level, isn't it? That is.
Yeah, it is. A little bit of a supportive trend line coming in there as well. Yeah, like that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Actually, you
Well, I
know what?
hope so anyway.
I'm going to go for 9 to 1. I don't like the fact that yeah, so I'm targeting 15,069, right on the line. Yeah, done. Job done.
Okay. Good luck. I can't find anything anywhere near as exciting as that, but I do like the look of sterling versus yen. I think yen's just been so weak, and sterling relatively decent, I suppose. This is the intraday chart. Maybe a little bit of a top form in here, but let's have a look at the daily just to confirm that all is okay. As you can see there, long-term uptrend, maybe a bit of a flag forming here. We've seen a break to the upside. Yes, the candles have been a little bit narrow in ranges in recent days, but still fancy it to continue higher. So just going by the hourly chart here, sorry to flick through this all quickly, but this is a really nice bullish outside bar candle that's formed here over the last hour. So on that basis, I'm going to buy it, targeting a move back up to this recent resistance at 154.83. So buying at 154.07, target 154.83, stop loss at 153.74. So just looking for just under 2.5 hour on that one. Not as exciting as Steve's 9 to 1 humdinger, but I need a couple of days to get another look at my charts and hopefully come up with something a bit better tomorrow.
Yeah, nice one.
Okay, so news-wise today, not a lot, and the reason for that is actually a holiday in a few European countries today. So a bit of an empty macro calendar. We've got US Chicago Fed index at 130. That's expected to rise to 2.5. We've also got a speech from Bank of England Governor Bailey, who will provide some interest for sterling watchers. He may also provide some interest for crypto watchers because he's been pretty critical and skeptical on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies in his last few conferences. So I guess he'll be pressed on that again today, especially given how volatile it's been over the last few weeks. I think that's it, Steve. Unless you've got anything else?
No, that's good. Cool.
Lovely. All right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. And until then, trade safe.
Cheers.
Bye bye.